Adolf Hitler. This is a name that almost everyone in the world knows. It is a name that brings to mind very strong, very negative feelings for most people. He was the dictator of Germany many years ago, during the 1930s and 1940s. He led a political party called the Nazi Party. Even though he died in 1945, his shadow is a long one. It stretches across time and still touches our world today. We see this even now, in the years 2024 and 2025, as his name continues to appear in discussions about current events, reminding us of a very dark chapter in human history. The actions of Adolf Hitler and his followers caused a truly immense amount of suffering. Millions and millions of people died because of him. The world was plunged into a terrible war, the Second World War, because of his decisions. Because of this dark past, his name often reappears in the news, especially when political situations become tense. When this happens, it sparks serious debate and understandable concern among many people. They worry if history could somehow repeat itself, even in small ways. The recent controversies in 2024 have shown just how easily his name can become a flashpoint in modern conversations. So, why does this particular historical figure continue to surface so frequently in modern political discussions, so many decades after his death? It is because the things he did were so extreme, so horrific, that he has become a symbol. He is a symbol of absolute evil, of unchecked power, and of the terrible consequences of hatred and intolerance. Therefore, when people see things happening today that remind them even slightly of that dark time, they use his name to sound an alarm. The fear is always there, a deep-seated fear that humanity might forget the lessons of the past. This essay will try to do two important things. First, it will look back and explain who Adolf Hitler was. We will learn about his life, how he came to power in Germany, and the terrible things he did. This historical understanding is very crucial. Then, we will look at how his dark shadow still touches our world today. We will particularly examine some recent events and controversies from late 2024 and early 2025. These events make us think very hard about the important lessons we must always remember from history, so we can build a better future. Adolf Hitler was born in a small town in Austria on April 20, 1889. He was not born in Germany, but he later moved there as a young man. He tried to become an artist, but he was not successful in that field. He fought for Germany in the First World War. After the war, he became involved in politics in Germany. He eventually became the leader, the all-powerful dictator of Germany in the year 1933. He remained in power until his death in 1945. His time as leader is known as the Nazi era, a period that brought unimaginable suffering and destruction to the world. Germany was facing many serious problems after it lost World War I. The country was humiliated by the peace treaty known as the Treaty of Versailles. Its economy was in ruins and many people were jobless and poor. It was during this difficult time that Hitler joined a small political group called the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or Nazi Party for short. He quickly became its leader because he was a very powerful and persuasive public speaker. He made grand promises to the German people. He promised to make Germany a strong and proud nation once again, and many people started to listen and believe him. As the leader of Germany, Adolf Hitler did many truly terrible things. He completely destroyed democracy in the country. He took away all basic freedoms from the people, like freedom of speech and freedom of the press. People who opposed him were arrested, tortured, or killed. He built up a very large and powerful army, breaking international agreements that were made after World War I. Then, in September 1939, he ordered the German army to invade Poland. This aggressive act was the beginning of World War II, a devastating global conflict that lasted for 6 long years. One of the most horrific and evil things that Hitler and his Nazi party did was the Holocaust. The Nazis had a deep and irrational hatred for Jewish people. They blamed Jewish people for Germany's problems. Once in power, they began to persecute them systematically. Jewish people lost their jobs, their homes, and their rights. Then, during World War II, the Nazis started to murder them on a massive scale. They forced them into terrible places called concentration camps and death camps. It is estimated that 6 million Jewish men, women, and children were murdered in the Holocaust. The Nazis also targeted and killed many other groups of people they considered undesirable, like Romani people, disabled people, and political opponents. Even so many years after his death, Adolf Hitler's name can still cause shockwaves in modern politics. In October of 2024, reports began to surface in the United States of America. These reports, published in well-known media outlets, contained allegations about comments made by former US President Donald Trump. According to his former Chief of Staff John Kelly, Mr. Trump had allegedly said that Adolf Hitler did some good things. It was also claimed that Mr. Trump expressed a wish for American generals to be more like Hitler's generals, meaning loyal and obedient to him. These alleged remarks immediately drew widespread condemnation and concern. Naturally, Mr. Trump and his campaign team strongly denied these shocking allegations. When reporters asked him about these claims, Mr. Trump stated very clearly, "I never said that regarding the generals and never said it about Hitler supposedly doing good things." His spokespersons also dismissed the reports as debunked stories and untrue. However, the news had already caused a significant political stir, especially as it came during a heated election period. The opposing campaign quickly used these allegations in their advertisements, highlighting the disturbing nature of any perceived praise for a figure like Hitler. This showed how sensitive and potent his name remains. The shadow of Hitler appeared again in political discourse a few months later, in February 2025. This time, it was Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker who made a comparison. During his state budget address, Governor Pritzker, who himself is Jewish, spoke about the political climate under the Trump administration. He compared it to the conditions that allowed for the rise of Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany in the 1930s. He warned his audience that the seed that grew into a dictatorship in Europe a lifetime ago didn't arrive overnight. He pointed out how quickly the Nazis dismantled Germany's constitutional republic, urging vigilance. Governor Pritzker's comments also provoked a swift and strong reaction, particularly from Republican politicians in Illinois. They called his remarks divisive, inflammatory, and an unfair comparison that trivialized the immense tragedy of the Holocaust. Some demanded an apology. Governor Pritzker later clarified his statement. He said he was not calling Mr. Trump or his supporters Nazis. Instead, he explained, his intention was to sound a serious warning about the very real threats that democracies can face, using the historical example of Nazi Germany as a cautionary tale. These episodes from 2024 and 2025 clearly demonstrate that Hitler's legacy continues to cast a long and troubling shadow over contemporary political life. The period when Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party ruled Germany was one of the darkest times in human history. Their actions led to unimaginable suffering and destruction on a global scale. World War II, which Hitler started, resulted in the deaths of tens of millions of people, both soldiers and civilians. Entire cities were reduced to rubble, and countries across Europe and other parts of the world were devastated. The world was fundamentally changed by this terrible conflict and the evil ideology that fueled it. The trauma of those years still echoes today, reminding us of humanity's capacity for cruelty. Because of this immense suffering, it is very, very important for all of us to learn about Adolf Hitler, the Nazi regime, and the Holocaust. We have a moral duty to remember the millions of innocent victims who were persecuted and murdered. We must try to understand how such terrible things could happen. How could a whole nation follow such a destructive path? How could ordinary people participate in such evil acts? These are difficult questions, but we must ask them. Remembering is not just about looking at the past. It is about honoring those who suffered and ensuring their stories are never forgotten by future generations. Learning from history helps us to recognize dangerous warning signs in our own times. When we see leaders who try to gain power by promoting hatred and division, or who attack democratic institutions, we must be very careful and speak out. When we hear rhetoric that dehumanizes any group of people, or when people in positions of power express admiration for dictators, the lessons of the 1930s should come to our minds. The past teaches us that words have power, and that hateful ideologies, if left unchallenged, can lead to terrible actions and widespread suffering. Vigilance is always needed to protect freedom and human dignity. The controversies that emerged in 2024 and 2025 involving references to Hitler and Nazi Germany serve as a stark reminder. They show us that the struggle for democracy, tolerance, and fundamental human decency is an ongoing one. It did not end in 1945. We must actively work to ensure that the horrors of the past are never repeated. Understanding Adolf Hitler's rise and reign and the devastation he caused is not just a history lesson. It is a vital tool that helps us to protect our present and build a safer, more compassionate future for everyone, everywhere in the world.